One has perhaps been touched upon by Mr. Vinay Kant, I know from you, and the other one is something different. I've heard that Professor Kant spoke about the importance of state-level policy deliberations being given a place in this national policy which the government has been talking about for almost 3 years now. Any renewed attempt to make a policy, I think would have to acknowledge that since the last national policy was made in 1986, we have learned that national goals don't work unless they are understood and accepted at the state level. ये एक तरह का पाठ है जो दरअसल प्रोग्राम ऑफ एक्शन बनने तक ही स्पष्ट हो चुका था 86 से 92 के बीच में कि राज्यों की सिर्फ भागीदारी का सवाल नहीं है कि राज्य किस हद तक राष्ट्रीय नीति को तो समझा है हर एक राज्य और किस हद तक उसने उसको आत्मसात किया है, स्वीकार किया है और माना है कि हाँ ये एक उचित दिशा है। ये वाली एक समझ 1992 के इस दस्तावेज में दिखाई देती है और जो भी कोशिश 86 की नीति में इस दिशा में थी उसको भी इस समय याद करने की जरूरत है। और मुझे जो सबसे कष्ट होता है जिस चीज को याद करके कि उसमें लिखा हुआ था कि केब से ही काम नहीं चलेगा। CAB सेंट्रल एडवाइजरी बोर्ड बाकायदे 86 की पॉलिसी में एक सेब की व्यवस्था थी। स्टेट एडवाइजरी बोर्ड ऑफ एजुकेशन शुड बी कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड इन एवरी स्टेट। थोड़ा बहुत मुझे अनुभव है दिल्ली में जब श्रीमती शीला दीक्षित यहाँ की मुख्यमंत्री थी उस समय इस स्टेट एडवाइजरी बोर्ड के गठन की पैरवी करने से मेरा भी ताल्लुक था या मेरी कोशिश थी और उस विचार का कोई नाम लेवा या सुनने वाला उनकी सरकार में भी नहीं था और वो काफी लंबे समय दिल्ली की मुख्यमंत्री रही और उसके बाद जब ये नई सरकार आई तो इसके सामने भी ये प्रस्ताव गया कि ये सरकार है जो जमीनी लगती है तो इसको करना चाहिए कि एक स्टेट एडवाइजरी बोर्ड बने जो जिसकी हैसियत जैसे राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर केब की हैसियत है उस स्तर की इसकी हैसियत है। Now that issue was completely ignored in all states. There have been a few sort of substitute committees in some states. And we must appreciate Bihar, for example, that it set up a whole commission. Similarly, Kerala appointed a commission, or Bengal appointed a commission. But these commissions were not substitutes for a standing state advisory committee on education. Because I think history of CABE is quite clear in terms of what contribution has CABE given to India. CABE has existed since 1919, was given by the Sadler Commission. Since then, barring a few years gap, CABE has existed. And if we look at CABE's annual reports and its meetings, its minutes of its meetings, then we can see that CABE has been a sounding board for just about every major decision and policy shift in India since 1920s. No matter what is deliberated, CABE gets the last chance to say something about it. Yes, in many cases, what CABE said wasn't heard or wasn't given much attention. But CABE has been a sounding board, which even though it's not statutory, has had its status and sanctity. इस तरह की कोई कमेटी राज्य के स्तर पर हो, जिसका नाम भी राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति में 1986 में दिया गया था, ये एक वो वाला किस्सा है कि ये एक अधूरा काम है 86 पॉलिसी का, और मैं समझता हूँ कि जो भी अब जब भी बने राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा की नीति, उसको इस अधूरे काम को दोबारा दर्ज करना चाहिए। बहुत से काम हमारे यहाँ अधूरे रह जाते हैं, उनकी याद बनी रहे, इसके लिए नई जो भी नीति का दस्तावेज बनेगा नया, उसमें इसको शामिल किया जाए। क्योंकि ये जो पॉइंट है प्रोफेसर काट का, ये अपने आप में महत्वपूर्ण है कि भारत जैसे विषमताओं से ग्रस्त और विषमताओं को ढांपने वाली विविधताओं से लैस देश में किसी राष्ट्रीय फलक में शिक्षा के सूक्ष्म दैनिक जगत की बात पर्याप्त मात्रा में नहीं हो सकती। दैनिक जगत से आशय है कि स्कूल के स्तर पर क्या घटता है, क्या समस्याएं उभरती हैं, उनसे कैसे पेश आया जाए। हमारे जैसे देश में जो भौगोलिक रूप से, सामाजिक रूप से इतना अलग अलग छटाएं लिए हुए हैं, यहाँ एक राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर जो माइक्रो डिस्कोर्स है शिक्षा का, ये निभाया नहीं जा सकता। और इसलिए राष्ट्रीय स्तर का कोई एक बड़ा मोटा सा एक डिस्कोर्स बने, इसकी विफलता 68 और 86 की नीतियों से स्पष्ट हो चुकी है। 86 की नीति में बहुत सी चीजें थी जो बड़ी उपयोगी हैं, लेकिन राज्य के स्तर तक आते आते एक तरह से उनकी न तो समझ, न स्वीकृति, यहाँ तक कि उनका एक प्रकार से राज्य की भाषा में अनुवाद, एक अच्छे अर्थ में ही अनुवाद नहीं संभव हुआ। और वो एक तरह से ठीक है, एक पूजा के 2 फूल चढ़ाने के लिए नीति रही, लेकिन उसकी अवहेलना लगातार कई राज्यों में होती रही है। सिर्फ ये जो पूरा मसला है जो आरटीई के साथ उभरा कि 8 वर्ष की प्रारंभिक शिक्षा, ये पहली बार आरटीई ने नहीं उठाया, ये 86 पॉलिसी ने भी कहा, लेकिन इसको लेकर जब आरटीई कानून बन गया तभी 10 बड़े राज्यों में इस पर कुछ हुआ, वरना नीति कहती रही 20-25 साल निकल गए। कहीं 4 वर्ष की प्राइमरी शिक्षा रही, 7 वर्ष की प्रारंभिक शिक्षा रही, और स्कूल भी अलग अलग रहे, कई तरह की स्थितियां पाई जाती हैं। जस्ट एन एग्जाम्पल टू शो। सो आई थिंक दिस पॉइंट इज वेरी valid that when we hear this word national, we shouldn't get too excited. Although I think we should be excited about nationalism as the government wants. I owe my allegiance to this wonderful goal. But the idea of a national policy cannot be at the expense of acknowledging the crucial significance of the state level. That's where a policy space has to be created by the national policy, and perhaps a section there has to be a chapter in the national policy about state level policy making, state level planning, state level statistical collection, state level reviews frequently, and constitution of a state level advisory committee like SABE, State Advisory Board of Education, and its purposes, its roles should be given in the policy, its constitutional structure should be given, and how frequently it will be reconstituted should all be clearly mentioned. The history of CABE has enough lessons for us. That there have been periods when CABE was not constituted, and then in those years education could not be discussed in any major way, and there have been several such periods, even during this recent 30-year period since 86 policy. There have been periods when CABE was absent, and these periods have been quite expensive for India's educational growth and progress. This should not happen to state advisory boards. So, how that chapter should be drafted, perhaps in the context of RTE, at least RTE Forum should take the lead, in my view, and should draft that chapter. And for whatever it's worth, it should be submitted to Professor Kasturi Rangan, who is the chairperson of the latest committee that has been set up to complete the tasks which were begun with the Subramaniam committee, with its review committee, and now Now it's with Professor Kasturirangan. We should write that chapter ourselves. RT Forum, I'm saying, should do that as to the chapter on the importance of state-level policy making and planning, at least in elementary education, we can say. But ideally, it should be for all levels of education. And if we can draft this chapter in collaboration with some institutions which also have enough knowledge and motivation for suggesting ideas about secondary, senior secondary, and higher education, I think ideally that chapter should cover all these stages as to what state-level policy planning shall mean. The national policy can at best provide a framework of ideas and goals, but within that, the state's importance must be recognized, and with this currently popular idea of cooperative federalism, this becomes even more important, that we put down in words what are the state's responsibilities in policy making. Because at the moment we know that states are a site of tremendous institutional damage and helplessness and lack of status. I can't think of any state where the Minister of Education has any status. Perhaps Delhi, where he's the Deputy Chief Minister as well. Otherwise, being an education minister in a state, even as big as Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu, is a sign that you are a nobody in the cabinet. I mean, that's a sign also in many patches of Indian history. Education ministers don't feel very good about it. And that starts with Maulana Azad. But in the states, education ministers really have very little power. And if you request them for doing something about it, they refer naturally to the chief minister. So this whole question of how the states run their departments of education, directorates of education, and where, all of these need to be discussed in the policy, in the context of state-level planning. Now, my second set of observations are about what I have already mentioned. ये जो वर्ष हैं, करीब 10-15 वर्ष पिछले बीते हैं, ये संस्थाई टूट-फूट के वर्ष हैं, और ये टूट-फूट लगातार होती चली गई है, और ये इधर के वर्षों में और भी बढ़ी हुई स्थिति में है, जैसा कि होता है जब आप किसी टूटी हुई चीज का कोई इलाज नहीं करते, किसी चोट का नहीं करते, तो वो और भी भयंकर लगने लगती है. Institutional damage has happened in education on a fairly extensive scale. Let's look at the institutions created under DPEP and SSA. Since the mid-90s onwards, many very important institutions were put in place. And many institutions which already existed had developed a new sense of role and status during these two flagship programs which spread primary and elementary education and increased enrollment, made many other achievements with all kinds of constraints. But a number of older institutions acquired a certain role, many lost a certain role. Many new equations emerged between older structures and these new structures. Many of these equations were very uncomfortable. Some of them were actually meant to be very temporary in any case. ये जो पूरा इतिहास है, संस्थाई इतिहास 1990 के दशक से अभी तक का, ये इतिहास 1986 की शिक्षा नीति में लगातार हो रहे अपरदन की कहानी है. And that erosion has been quite obvious. It started with DPEP, it continued with SSA, and both these programs also added some new structures. ये दोनों ही चीजें साथ साथ चली हैं. और अब जबकि एक शिक्षा नीति की चर्चा दोबारा सुर्खियों में है, तो ये बड़ा आवश्यक है कि हम अब इंस्टीट्यूशनल रिकवरी प्लान इस पॉलिसी में की मांग करें और अपनी तरफ से भी इख्तियार करें. व्हाट इज अवर इंस्टीट्यूशनल रिकवरी प्लान? एंड बाय रिकवरी आई एक्चुअली मीन रिकवरी. कुछ इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं वो तो इतनी ज्यादा लहूलुहान हो गई हैं कि वो पड़ी हुई हैं, या तो उनको खत्म कर दिया जाए एनसीएफ में भी ये बात थी कि इतने पैरेलल इंस्टीट्यूशंस काम कर रही हैं, गांव के स्तर पर ही पैरेलल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज है, उनकी छानबीन करके जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस नहीं है जरूरी खत्म कर दी जाए। लेकिन बहुत सी इंस्टीट्यूशंस जो जरूरी हैं और जिनकी भूमिका है, जिनकी ऐतिहासिक भूमिका रही है, उनकी टूट फूट का इलाज होना चाहिए और वो नीति के तहत होना चाहिए। ऐसा नहीं कि कहीं लोगों ने मिल के कुछ चीज ठीक कर दी तो अच्छी हो गई, नहीं कर पाए तो नहीं हुई। Now let's start with some of these institutions. But under the DPP SSA history, we had created cluster resource level CRCs, cluster resource centers. We created block resource centers. We linked them to diets, and these diets were linked to the SCRTs in various states where SCRTs existed, and where they didn't exist, some other institution existed. Now SSA was a program, so was DPP, and therefore CRC, BRC, etc. did not get a statutory status of any kind, because they were kind of programs. And so somebody was asked to look after CRC, somebody was asked to look after BRC. But these institutions had, in their peak period, they had very important roles. That role has diminished. In many cases, it says finished. Even though they have kind of a physical infrastructure. किसी गांव में आज भी या ब्लॉक लेवल के कस्बे में आज भी खड़ी हुई इमारत है और दिखाई देता है कि यहाँ कुछ हुआ था। सर्वेश्वर जी की कविता है, यहाँ से एक खुशबू आती है, यहाँ कुछ हुआ था। क्या हुआ था? आज ना वहाँ स्टाफ है ना कुछ है। और ये जो पूरी कल्पना थी कि CRC level will have a resource center, a library which will be used by schools in that cluster. BRCs will be stocked with such library resources, material resources, technological resources. There will be adequate staff. The staff will have salary structures and so on and so forth. And these will function as extended arms of the diets. Now this whole structure today is badly damaged, even in the more advanced parts of India like the south. And so is the SCRT, which is supposed to be a kind of an umbrella organization for these structures. और कई जगह तो अभी SCRT और बोर्ड के बीच संबंधों में ही समस्याएं चल रही हैं कि कौन पाठ्यक्रम बनाता है, कौन पाठ्यपुस्तकें छपवाता है। बोर्ड और SCRT के झगड़ों का अपना एक इतिहास है जो जिसके लिए कोई ट्राइब्यूनल चाहिए। वो नीति बनाएगी या नहीं बनाएगी, लेकिन कम से कम उसको SCRT का एक स्टेटस निर्धारित करना चाहिए और उसकी भूमिकाएं इन जमीनी स्तर की संस्थाओं के लिए CRC, BRCs के वो भी निर्धारित होनी चाहिए, जिसके लिए SSA में पर्याप्त लिटरेचर है। SSA की कितनी ही समीक्षाएं हुई जिनमें कई राज्यों में इन संस्थाई ढांचों की का मूल्यांकन किया गया, उनमें से बहुतों को बहुत उपयोगी पाया गया, महत्वपूर्ण पाया गया और वो पूरी शब्दावली हमें उपलब्ध है उन डॉक्यूमेंट से, जो हमें आज इस नीति के दस्तावेज में देखने के डलवाने का पूरा प्रयास करना चाहिए कि ये ऐसे नहीं चलेगा। But now let's look at another structure which has kind of badly damaged very soon after its creation. And at the state level, many states didn't even create it or created it naam ke vaste. And it's anybody's guess which structure am I talking about. You can guess it. It's mentioned in the RTE to do a monitoring of the RTE. Can you imagine? Yeah. NCPCR. This is the most unfortunate structure of all. It's like, children who die at prenatal stage. After Shantaji, her term was over, the structure has virtually become marginalized. Even during her period, the structure could not get stocked with even a basic library. It needs a law library actually, which goes back 150 years in Indian legal history to see how children's cases have been handled by courts. At least at the national level, we needed that kind of library. Thousands of cases were reported during her term, and even after her term was over, many cases have come to NCPCR, some of which have been investigated, some of which have. We need a very well-stocked documentation center at that level. We need infrastructure, we need staff. Right now, like all new age institutions, NCPCR is a shell. लोग आते हैं जाते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पर कुछ महीने के लिए, एंड देन देयर इज नो इंस्टीट्यूशनल मेमोरी लेफ्ट। कोई डिसीजन किसी स्टेज पर हुआ था, आप पूछिए भाई क्या था, अरे वो आप उनको फोन कर लीजिए, अब तो वो चले गए हैं जयपुर में। And then from that person you can get. So we are back to this kind of guru शिष्य परंपरा कि आप उनके शिष्य से मिल लीजिए, वो बताएंगे कि गुरु जी क्या सोचते हैं। Otherwise there is no record in the institution, there is no record keeper who can tell you कि भाई ये केस आया था एक बच्चे का, उस पर क्या एनसीपीसीआर ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया, अंत में क्या हुआ, कार्रवाई क्या हुई। देयर शुड बी इनफ स्टाफ टू टेल अस दैट। तो ये तो एनसीपीसीआर की कहानी है, जिसके लिए नई जो भी नीति बन रही है उसमें जरूर एक अध्याय होना चाहिए कि उसकी क्या क्या आवश्यकताएं हैं, एनसीपीसीआर की भूमिकाएं। बट देन द वर्स्ट स्टोरी इज दैट ऑफ द एससीपीसीआर, जिनकी मदद से एनसीपीसीआर को काम करना था। These are the state level committees for this protection of children's rights. अभी सिंह साहब ने बात की SDG 4.7 की, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स की। सस्टेनेबल के अनुवाद से मैं कतई सहमत नहीं हूं, जो बिहार ने भी स्वीकार किया है, हालांकि वो भी एक हिंदी भाषी प्रदेश है। सतत विकास, सस्टेनेबल का अर्थ सतत कतई नहीं होता है। सस्टेनेबल का अर्थ होता है कि आप विकास करते करते बार बार सोचेंगे कि किस दिशा में जा रहे हैं, कि ये सस्टेनेबल भी है कि नहीं। साथ ही विकास की बात करने की जरूरत है, और उस सिलसिले में ये जो चिल्ड्रंस राइट्स का मसला है, जिसका भारत एक सिग्नेटरी भी है और तमाम चीजें हैं, तो उसमें भी गोल 4 में जिसका जिक्र है, उसकी ये प्रमुख संस्था है एससीपीसीआर, जिसको राज्य स्तर पर गठित किया जाना है। उसके लिए कोई नॉर्म्स नहीं है, कौन उसमें गठित कितने समय रहेगा, किस तरह का व्यक्ति होगा, कैसे उसका चुनाव किया जाएगा। यहां तक कि राष्ट्रीय स्तर के लिए हमारे पास कोई नॉर्म्स नहीं है कि एनसीपीसीआर का गठन किस प्रकार होगा। और ये इतनी महत्वपूर्ण संस्था है कि ये आरटी पर निगरानी रखेगी। So I think it's important for us to remind, not just remind, but actually write a section on the importance of institutional recovery for these institutions that were created in the context of all these very progressive-looking measures, and other institutions I've already mentioned. For a very long time, there was a discussion about how SCRTs can benefit from association with NCRT, what kind of association it will be. None of that was ever clarified at any level, and I think this national policy, whenever it gets written, I think should return to that question. But I am proposing that we need a recovery plan. This recovery plan will partly remind the nation and the readers of the policy, where have we been before and where have we come now. Otherwise we'll keep losing memory, and we cannot afford to lose the memory of stations we have crossed or where we have been, and where we did certain things as a society, as a nation, and those need to be now recalled in a responsible way, if this policy initiative has to have some real meaning rather than purely rhetorical meaning. I think many issues before this policy today will be of an ideological nature, and as Professor Muchkund Dubey pointed out this morning, ideology as a guide to policy is never a good guide. In any case, as a broad principle, this is something which I think we need to say as much as we can, and underline this, that ideology cannot be a guide to policy, especially when education is expected to become a professional activity, which Madam Batra, you've been saying for years, that teaching is a professional activity, and that is the core activity of education. How can it be ideological? How can any aspect of education be seen through ideological eyes? So if we are in the context of, if we are now thinking about this in the context of policy making, then our only guide has to be critical inquiry into reality, retrospective inquiry into our achievements and our failures since 1986 policy. And some failures can also be seen in the context of the 68 policy initiatives and the context of these various important commissions some of whom are remembered, like the Kothari Ayog is remembered very much, but the Ramamurthy Ayog also needs to be remembered. And the policy should just place, flowers of respect for these old commissions, but I think it should look at the unfulfilled promises and intentions of these previous older documents in order to be able to give something credible now. Now that will be, to my mind, a reasonable way, not an ideological way, but a reasoned way of proceeding with policy making. Because many of these documents have historical significance. They also have significance for passing B.Ed. But I think they have to have policy significance. What are the things that Kothari had mentioned which are still worth remembering? The Mudaliar Ayog, for example, had many such things. So I think the policy has to include a listing at least of those goals and intentions which earlier literature has highlighted and which need to be recalled now when we are a nation with more financial strength and we are in a position to do something about those goals, which earlier we weren't. Then alone the policy will be a relevant contemporary policy. And it will have perhaps some meaning if it's done like that. And I think that's where institutions that are represented here under RT Forum have a role to play. We need excellent summaries. I mean, today this was coming up again and again, that some of these commissions need to be recalled for things which they said, which has been forgotten or not understood. Like the 6% point is very clear, has not been properly understood, even to this day. And we need to sort of recall why Kothari chose this figure of 6%. And similar things are there about later commissions. Perhaps 2-page summaries need to be prepared of the unfinished tasks of each commission. This was a title the late J.P. Nayak had chosen for his most famous book, Elementary Education in India, Promised to Keep. And he listed the unfinished tasks. I think we need to create a list of unfinished tasks derived from each of these major commission reports and append it to our submission to the Kasturi Rangan Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much.